Hi guys. Today's topic is separating religion from politics. Uh, Now this is a tricky one because of two reasons. Reason number one is that no one in the room, in that group discussion room, is going to speak in favor of mixing religion and politics. Everyone's going to speak about keeping religion and politics separate, except one or two odd members, and chances are that his arguments won't be very sharp. I did a little bit of research. I checked a few publications, a few websites that argued in favor of keeping religion and politics together, with various religious scholars putting across their views, and they don't sound very convincing. So we don't expect some very strong or convincing points of view there. As a result of which, now this is the challenge number two, as a result of which you would then have a room full of candidates that would keep about talking these two separate. And assuming you would also speak along the same lines, then there's this real fear of you getting lost in the crowd. And predictably, I know almost everyone would speak about how politicians of today play to their advantage, or how the different terrorist attacks that we observe all around the world, from Nigeria or France or India, disturb the peace and progress of the world. So, and assuming you would also be saying the same thing, this, as I said, there's a real chance of you getting lost in the crowd. So, what is the best way to get noticed when such a topic puts all of you on the same platform? You have to dig a little deeper. You have to go a few levels deeper. If you dig successfully, that helps in building a complex framework that opens new avenues of understanding, and it helps you articulate your opinion in a way that wins your case for you. And this is something which you all need to keep in mind, that every time you prepare for a topic that is like this, putting all people in the same platform, you need to go beyond the surface of that topic to enhance your understanding. So here we are, as far as the points are concerned. A few lines of thought which you can take, which you can expand, and or you can simply understand them and tailor make them as per your style as you practice. Separation of the state and church. The state means politics, and church means religion. State and church is a phrase, and you can use that phrase, it sounds good. Separation of the state and church is actually rooted in the European concept of Reformation and Enlightenment. There was this general agreement then amongst people that politicians and members of the press and government officials, etc., should remove their religious views while at job at all the time. Why was this thought important? You see, in Abrahamic tradition, the first murder arose out of a religious act, that of Cain murdering Abel out of an impulse of jealousy, because God had chosen Abel's offering over Cain's. Why religious? Because God is involved. God had a role to play in this whole act. Once this pattern got established, it got played out in the story of Isaac and Ishmael, got played out in the story of Jacob and Esau, played out in the story of Joseph and his brothers, right down to the generations and generations of conflicts between Jews and Christians and Muslims. And that continues even today. Okay. When we talk about Abrahamic tradition, we mean the three Abrahamic religion, which is Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, that flows from Prophet Abraham. Okay, so today as the mainstream media chooses to kind of be politically correct in hiding a sanitizing fact, a lot of us, we know what plays out in the conflict-ridden areas of the world like Syria or Libya, Myanmar, Afghanistan, or in the past conflict that involves groups like LTTE or IRA. Religion is incredibly deeply dug in politics, especially those that are also used as political tools for different agenda. It is so spread out that in global politics, tangible aspects like territorial borders of a nation cannot contain it or control it. For example, you see the way Al Qaeda or ISIL recruits today. People go and get recruited irrespective of their nationalities and borders, ethnicities. They join them for causes that can hardly be called noble against the framework of concepts like democracy and equality. R. Scott Appleby is the dean of, just one second, Keogh School of Global Affairs at the University of Notre Dame, has an interesting observation. He remarked that religious communities, including most religious leaders, are not peace builders. They have little awareness about peace building processes. What they are doing is they are trying to build and maintain a flock of their own religious community, even at the cost of amplifying discord, disharmony with neighboring communities. So not only do we live in a world that has religion deeply mixed with politics, we have at one end a large number of population that aren't exactly aware of it most of the times. And we have different religious communities led by different religious leaders that have little or no stake in sustained peace building between different schools of religious thoughts. And think about that again. If living in harmony is the key to lasting peace and development, then what is happening here? Are these leaders helping to build those bridges through their religion, or are they doing exactly the opposite? As far as India is concerned, religion and secularism in Indian context have been a fundamentally flawed narrative. Because to be secular, a state must be equidistant from all religion. But in India, because of vote bank politics, we see a fair bit of concession based on religion. We even have religion that has been allowed to follow its own provision for its own affairs. This is definitely not separation of religion and politics. Interestingly, while separating religion and politics in a ruling body is possible, if a country is determined enough, it is slightly more difficult at an individual level because we human beings are inescapably religious in our mental design. We have this tendency to gravitate and embrace someone or something as ultimate. And that ultimate, whether it is the God of Jesus, or whether it's Lord Krishna, or whether it's Gautam Buddha, or even if it's money or power or fame, that ultimate commands us and that shapes our lives and that offers us salvation in our minds. So an individual's view and working reflects his or her personal beliefs and convictions. If religion and politics has to be separate, then there has to be complete compartmentalization to prevent private personal beliefs to spill over to public responsibilities, whether you are an individual, whether you are a community, or whether you represent a government. This always calls for the need to practice personal discipline and carefully exercising restraint at an individual level. And if we ever reach that stage collectively where we stop reacting to polarizing FB posts or polarizing WhatsApp messages, the hate-mongering messages that we come across these days so often, it's only then we can look into making our government accountable for its policies, which it usually does to hide behind vote banks. And then only we can see some results. So that's all for today. Thank you very much for joining me. I'll see you again next week.